Let me guess, you signed up for every free lead magnet and binged on every marketing YouTube video and thought, what am I missing? Why isn't my business exploding like that? Well, I can tell you, you're not alone. Whether you're just getting started or have an established business, entrepreneurship can be really lonely, but it doesn't have to be. Overcoming your fear of launching or building your personal brand or figuring out how to scale, it shouldn't be holding you back. It should be empowering you. On this podcast, we're going to deep dive into the mechanics of what it takes to build your brand, make your mark, and stake your claim in the digital marketing space. I'll be chatting with people from all walks of life and stages in their careers. I will be getting inspiration from real experts who will share their actual strategies and techniques to grow loyal and raving followings and sell more stuff. This is entrepreneurship from people who are already there making it happen. My name is Jeff Mendelson. Join me and welcome to the One Big Tip podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. And today I'm really excited to introduce to you Dr. Todd Snyder. He is a clinical psychologist and a peak productivity coach, and he's here to talk to us about high-level productivity strategy. So, Dr. Snyder, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on, Jeff.
So, I found it really interesting that you're not just I shouldn't say not just. I mean, your degree and your profession is being a clinical psychologist, but as a peak productivity coach, you also work with an entirely expanded set of people, right? So you're able to pull in the academic and the clinical expertise that you bring to the table, but also work with some really highly productive people in order to achieve their peak productivity in their businesses. I was wondering if you could take a few minutes to talk a little bit about what it is that you do, and how you got here and what makes you amazing.
Sure. Well, I don't think of myself as being amazing so much as maybe just lucky. I feel lucky that I stumbled across some really central core concepts that have kind of helped me to achieve some things in life that I just really feel privileged, lucky to have stumbled across. And one of those is just this idea that if you can find the active ingredients, those few things that make the biggest difference, that those will propel you so far and so fast compared to just trying to do everything and all the time trying to move forward. And so when I started my private practice as a clinical psychologist, I was helping people with things like depression and anxiety and relationship strain and all of these things. And my mind was continuously trying to sift through both the data, things that I learned from all those that came before me that taught me how to be a psychologist. Okay, so what are they saying works and which of those things work best? And then because I actually got pulled into the world of psychology because of the self-help world, I was fascinated. At age 16, my parents moved back from Rwanda, Africa to the US. I was going through a culture shock and I was socially anxious and I wasn't fitting in very well. And I kind of shut down socially, and some self-help books, including Tony Robbins, Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, kind of pulled me out of that. And I was like, wow, like the transformation I experienced, what was that? And I learned, okay, that's what they call psychology. I want to learn more about that. So I majored in psychology, went on to do a master's degree, a doctoral degree in psychology. But I was always all along the way fascinated with the idea of motivation and self-discipline. And so even as a psychologist, I was taking on coaching clients who wanted specific help with those kinds of things. And that led me to a few interviews that got some attention from some business owners. And I inadvertently got pulled into doing some consulting with business owners. And I was like, wow, this is great. I can't believe that there's so much happening here. I just love the speed of change that happens in the business world and the exciting goals that people are going after as entrepreneurs. So I fell in love with that, and I took that concept of the looking for those active ingredients, and I started saying, well, wait a minute, some entrepreneurs are spinning their wheels and just barely accomplishing anything, while others are accomplishing things so fast I can barely understand how it's possible. And I started looking for those active ingredients, and through the process of that, I got more and more involved until today. I primarily work with entrepreneurs on peak productivity at both the high level business strategy and also the personal level of, what are you personally doing as the owner, as the entrepreneur to move your business goals forward?
So that's really interesting that you say that. So you've been successfully able to merge or to compartmentalize the different aspects of of coaching people and getting them to be more successful while utilizing all of these different disciplines in order to achieve that. For your one big tip, what I found was you have an amazingly simple trick in order to achieve, or at least start to think about how to alleviate, what could be blocking you from being productive.
Yeah.
So what is your one big tip?
Well, my big tip is to create a recurring reminder in your to-do list system or your calendar, whatever you use, a recurring reminder to sit down and look at your bottlenecks in your business, to identify what your bottlenecks are, and to brainstorm strategies for how you can alleviate those bottlenecks. And so this is one of those things that when people hear it, it's kind of like, well, what does that mean exactly? Unless, like you, Jeff, they have an MBA and they understand a lot more about how businesses work, studied factories and all of that concept of how alleviating one bottleneck could double, triple, or quadruple the output for a factory. But looking at that as a solopreneur, as somebody who's doing digital marketing, or somebody who's a coach, or somebody who's trying to create an information course online, or an influencer, well, what is a bottleneck in that situation? What I found is there always is a bottleneck. And as soon as you alleviate a bottleneck, a new one will pop up. That's just the nature of a business. As soon as you remove one, well, now that reveals the next one, the next level up. And so I've discovered that if I can help a business owner to accelerate their goals, it's usually going to start by going through that process of identifying where is the bottleneck and what can we do to pour all your time, energy, best ideas, resources to try to obliterate that bottleneck so that you can double the speed at which you're pursuing your business goals.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So what you're not talking about then, just so we're clear, we're not talking about scheduling 15 minutes or a half an hour just for you to sit in a lotus position and think about your business, right? You are talking about specific, well, you have specific steps that you should be following within that half an hour that you have blocked out,
right, in
order to identify and take action on those bottlenecks that could be impeding your performance, right?
Yes.
So do you have a template for that? Is there some kind of is there a methodology that goes into that specific time that you use during that schedule?
Yeah, I do. I have a course that I've up to this point exclusively made available to my private clients, but just in the past week released it to the public. And within that course, I go through sort of some steps of some processes that you can use to figure out where your bottleneck is. And then what do you do once you've figured that out? But let me just give you the highlight best tip out of that, which is if you're not sure where your bottleneck is, one of the best things you can do right now is just ask yourself, if I wanted to double my revenue by tomorrow, what would stop me? And of course, you're going to have this thought of immediately, well, I couldn't do that because, and whatever the because is, that's your bottleneck. Whether it's your personal time, or we'd have to double the inventory we have to be able to sell it, or our shopping cart system would break, with that many people hitting our web server, it would crash. Whatever it is that caused you to say, well, I couldn't because, that's going to be a hint that's immediately going to show you like, okay, I need to start looking at where the bottleneck is. Sometimes it's man hours. Sometimes it's cash flow. For someone flipping houses, it might be, we don't have enough loans to buy more houses, or we've got too many houses in our inventory that we need to rent out or sell before we can buy new ones. But whatever it is, it's going to quickly help you to zero in on that. So then the next step, once you've identified that, of course, is to start thinking outside the box. And to start thinking, how can I leverage excess capacity in order to obliterate a roadblock like that?
That is entirely simple, yet entirely effective, right? And that it's something that that someone can implement without, it won't cost them a penny in tools, it's just making a better use of your time, right?
Right.
Wow, that's great. All right, so Dr. Snyder, thank you very much for that. Why don't you let everyone know where they can reach you and how they can get access to this course that you just dropped?
Oh, sure. Well, I've actually set up just a page on my website, which is toddsnydercoaching.com. Snyder spelled SNYDER. And if you go to toddsnydercoaching.com/Jeff and make sure you capitalize Jeff's name, JEFF, you'll see a resource there that I just wanted to make available to any of Jeff's listeners I respect what Jeff is doing and the way he's gathering these key insights that I've personally benefited from listening. And I want to give back a little bit too. There's a template you can download there that I call the daily start sequence, which is a really useful tool to get you productive, planning your day from the very beginning to reduce distractions and make sure you focus on the things you really mean to. It's a useful template that you can use to create your own. So for anyone that would love to see that, and of course you can learn more about my course if you sign up for the emails there as well.
Amazing. Dr. Snyder, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day in order to share that information with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.